Welcome back to another Wine and Rum video, and today we're in Dublin 8 for another best places to live. So Dublin 8 is really special to our hearts because we lived here for almost 3 years, so we're really excited to go back to some of the old places that we used to go to all the time, see if they've changed and also show them to you. So you may have heard in our other videos about living in Ireland that we sometimes complain that the area we live in now is a bit soulless, and I think after you've seen this video and we show off Dublin 8, you'll know why we think that way. Because Dublin 8 has so much history, amazing stuff, really cool buildings, just a really cool vibe, and feels like the Dublin you imagine when you think about Dublin.
So we just walked down from Christchurch Cathedral past Dublinia, and now we're to another old part of Dublin. Where are we?
So these are the former Dublin city walls, which, them being now pretty central, tells you just how small Dublin was back during the Vikings. And if you want to know more about that, there's the Dublinia Museum, or one of our really old videos that we did when we went to visit there. But they've got the whole history laid out about all the stuff the Vikings did, built, case in point, Christchurch Cathedral, all this stuff.
You don't just get the wonderful history of the Vikings. If you go up to the top of the church, there's also a great view you have of Dublin City as well.
Absolutely. And you learn fun facts, like we realised that when we looked at the medieval part of the museum, we kind of lived over former mass graves from the plague in our old flat. Fun stuff.
Alright, so we just stopped here at Brazen Head, one of the oldest pubs here in Ireland. Yeah, we've always seen this as a tourist trap, but we just went in and it was actually pretty decent. Just got a nice hearty lunch, and now we're going to continue on. What do we have for lunch? I got this seafood chowder, excellent stuff, and also the wine here. What did she get? What did you get?
Bacon, cabbage, potatoes, that white parsley sauce, and carrots, and parsnips.
Yeah, great food for a nice chilly day. And now that we're all warmed up and full of drink, we're going to continue on our way.
So now that we've gotten the touristy bits out of the way, we're back into the real Dublin 8, and we're starting off actually in an area that looks quite different from last time we were here. I used to actually work here in the digital hub because there used to be offices. So I'd walk through kind of the back roads, and I realised the thing that literally in our script notes put as the dodgy dock park has now been turned into quite a fancy park.
Yeah, gentrification is real. We just took some footage there, and it definitely looks like if there's an entire set of apartments there that's now going to be built.
I knew the student apartments here were already quite expensive. I looked it up just for curiosity of guess in the comments how much they cost. The cheapest ones, when I looked it up, start currently at €1,088, and they go up to €1,200, and you're still sharing a kitchen, mind. That's literally a student dorm where you're still sharing the kitchen. You just get your own bathroom. So gentrification definitely a thing, but we felt maybe when we left, which was also kind of because of gentrification, it hit a limit. But no, it's been continuing gentrifying since we left several years ago. So working in town, somewhere close to Thomas Street, is very different than working in the Docklands. You're right in the middle of the city centre. There's loads of places around. It's just a walk away to Wicker Street or some of the other theatres. There's lots of pubs around, there's cafes, there's all kinds of things going on. And there's actually a lot more history to the area. So we're about to head into the Liberties, which was one of the most famous working class neighbourhoods in Dublin. It still, I suppose, theoretically is, but there's definitely been a lot of gentrification going on, as you'll see yourself. In the past, the Liberties and the surrounding area were also known to be where the tenters and weavers lived and worked. So it's also fun to watch out in the names. There's Weavers Park, and there's loads of little hints to history there.
So we've made our way now, finally, to a place with a logo that most of us would recognize.
So funny story, I actually used to walk past here every day on my way to work. And one time I just came around the corner and there was this dude dressed in Victorian clothes, top hat and everything. And then I look around and they were actually shooting one of the ads for Guinness. And it is like on this side, just a brewery there, on that side, just a storehouse there. And sometimes when the wind is right, you do actually smell the brewery. It doesn't quite smell like alcohol, it more smells like bread. Like, at least that's always the effect that always made me crave bread whenever I smelled that Guinness smell.
So we're finally taking a little rest here. We are sat here in St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Or in the park outside, I suppose, if you want to be super specific.
Yes, I just realized what I said. I'm like, this is definitely a park and not a cathedral. Yeah, so, yeah, we haven't been here for a while. This is actually very close to where we used to live. Kind of nostalgic being back. It's also more filled than we've almost ever seen it before. I guess that during the lockdowns and stuff, people just got a more of appreciation for being outdoors.
And also there's a market going on today, which somehow we never managed to discover while we're here. I don't know if it's new, but apparently there's markets now.
Yeah, I think it's new. We've discovered a few places that we haven't been before, especially some parks and green open spaces. That's one of the things about the city. Yes, we live somewhere where there's a big park and stuff, but these tiny little, enclaves isn't the exact word, but places where you can just go chill in the city. Yeah, we really love this sort of stuff.
Yeah, walking through the Liberties, like, you can definitely see some of the classic views, like the red brick houses, and it does feel a little bit like a village. Like, those are the back roads I used to walk towards work to, so it does feel like a village there. Like, I remember I would walk past this little patch of green where people would just sit there with a mug of tea in their hand talking to their neighbours in the morning, and it just looked so wholesome and kind of very idyllic village-like, even though it's so close to the city centre.
Yeah, not like suburbia. Nope.
At all,
nope.
No. And one other thing we'd nearly forgotten about living out here is horses. So many horses. It's like we stepped off the main route towards the Liberties and you smell the horses, you see the horses, and you better watch out you don't step into what the horses left behind.
Yep, we've moved from dog poo to horse poo.
What an upgrade. But it's weird coming back to especially such an old part of town, like where we were walking, a path we used to take all the time, like Pimlico. It's literally mentioned in like famous songs.
Indeed.
Yeah, go on. You want to sing?
I'm getting stage fright now, I'm too afraid to sing it. No, I'll sing it later.
But yeah, like famous songs, if you've heard in the rare old times, that's literally a place that's getting referenced. So there's so much life and history to those places. Versus when you move outside of the city centre, it's very easy to forget about that and kind of those little things that make Dublin so special, and that are also part of the reason why we moved here in the first place. Walking around these familiar streets, we do miss it a lot. The reason we left in the first place was because, as you've probably heard from other videos, the rents do increase quite rapidly in Dublin. And also the place we were staying in, the roof started to leak, that it would literally rain inside into the window even when it was closed. So we knew it was time to leave that flat and we were looking for a bigger space, and now it's very hard to go back to a smaller flat for the sake of living closer to the city. But Dublin 8 definitely has a lot of advantages. It hasn't been named one of the coolest neighbourhoods by Times Out in 2021 for no reason. So many of the streets have famous histories. Like, I could go on and on about all the information you can already find on Wikipedia about all those different streets. Like, we used to live close to Crumblassel Street, which is literally where the main character of James Joyce's Ulysses also lived. So you hardly can get any closer to the Dublin you imagine, perhaps, when you want to move to Dublin, like the Dublin that lives in your mind. Even the Bleeding Horse, a former local where we stopped for some pints before heading home, is famous in its own right. Overall, Dublin 8 is super central, there's plenty of buses, and it's also very easy to walk around, and you have very nice green spaces like Portobello and the canal there, which gets really busy in summer when people go there to just meet up. And every corner in Dublin 8 has its own unique little vibe, and even us, after having lived there for 3 years, don't get sick of walking around and discovering new little corners.
So if you liked that video, be sure to click the like button And please do subscribe. Yeah, it's getting a bit warmer again, so we'll be out again to give you more best places to live in Ireland and some extra places that you may not expect. Until then, see you later and bish beta.
Bye.
Ring a rosy as the light declines. I remember Dublin city in the rare old times.